Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. It is a Monday, so on behalf of everyone here in this wonderful YouTube channel, I wish you a very good week ahead. But of course, this video isn't to send you best wishes, it is to catch you up on things that might have been happening in the world of sport whilst you were catching up on some all-important sleep, because whilst you need sleep and I need sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. So without further ado, let's get straight to it and let's start off by talking about what a certain Mr. Gavaskar has said about the British media. Now, his attack, you have to remember, doesn't really come out of context. It comes in the basis of a column he wrote for a leading daily, wherein he talked about, how it is that Sena countries, when they produce bad test pitches, citing Cape Town as an example, they don't really see too much of a fuss in it. But if anything happens in India, then you'll see all sorts of headlines being generated, and thereafter, he said that in about 3 weeks' time, we'll be having a test series against a team whose media is the wingiest in the world. I'm not kidding. Those are his exact words, and it is hard to disagree with what it is he's saying. You can say whatever you like about, the English team as a whole, but their media has a bad rep the world over, regardless of what sport it is they're covering, and with very good reason, because more often than not, they do tend to get a little bit on the whingy side, let's say, and it does happen more often than not. You saw the outrage, moral outrage during the Ashes, which I didn't really agree with any of it. And it does tend to happen more often than not. That's not to say that the England team are a reflection of their media. Again, the England team know what it is they're expecting and getting in India. That's why they have 5 spinners. And the same can be said about even Australia when they came last year. They came with 3 spinners and played all of them more often than not. So they knew what it is they were getting. That did not stop their media either from whinging on about the fact. In fact, Gavaskar gave that an example, saying, Delhi butchers and stuff like that were some of the headlines that were put out after last year's series. And it's something he didn't necessarily agree with. And it's something I happen to agree with on his side, because again, the English media, when it really comes down to it, does tend to get a little bit on the whingy side. But hey, that's just me. What do you guys feel? You can tell me in the comments. But we'll now get to another bit of interesting news on this wrap. Saurav Ganguly has publicly backed the return of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli to the Indian men's cricket team for the T20I World Cup, potentially, but more importantly for the series that will be taking place against Afghanistan. Now, many people expect that this comeback is, of course, due to the fact that they're going to be playing the World Cup. It's the last T20I series that you are playing before the World Cup. You have the Test series after this, you have IPL, and then you've got the World Cup. So anyone who's featuring in this team would at least be there or thereabouts in the scheme of things. Whether they make the 15, that's up for debate, but they will be there and thereabouts. And if you're playing the likes of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, you best believe they are going to be playing in the T20 World Cup as well, unless something drastic happens. So what Ganguly has said is that it's good that they're coming back. You do need both of them. It doesn't matter whether or not they've played much T20 cricket. They should be slotting in. And that seems to be a popular opinion. A lot of Kohli fans and Rohit fans have come up with the same opinion, saying that no, India are not winning a T20 World Cup without both of them there in the squad. To which my argument is that even with both of them there, it's not like India have won a World Cup in the past 10 years, but that's just a debate for another time maybe. And maybe there'll be vindication. I don't know, it could be wrong. Maybe both of them have stellar World Cups and bring India home an ICC trophy, but conventional wisdom would suggest that's not the case. If it happens though, I'll be happy, just as everyone else who has criticized the decision will be happy. And speaking of people who are not exactly in a happy state of mind right now, Ishan Kishan, you remember, had taken a break, or he pulled out of the South Africa tour, citing personal reasons, which media reports later said was mental fatigue due to the fact that he'd been traveling with the team constantly and barely ever got a look in. When he did get a look in, it was to plug a hole, whether that be at the top of the order, whether that be in the middle order. And we do have some fresh updates on why it is that Ishan Kishan wasn't considered for this particular series. The reports are suggesting, in news agency PTI to be specific, that he is still very much on a break from the sport. He's vacationing right now, so wasn't going to be available for this particular series. But, and this is the big caveat, the selectors have very much looked beyond Kishan at this point in time. Now, whether this is down to his performances, whether this is down to the fact that he left the tour before it had even really started, a test series no less, that's something that we can only speculate about. But it does show that they are looking beyond him, and if he is to be back in the scheme of things, then he'll need to probably have an outstanding 2024 IPL, and that's probably the only way he'll get back. It's a good thing, bad thing, that's something that we can debate, and we'll do a separate video on this, because again, I think it's a very interesting thing that Kishan is on break, not being considered, but selectors have already looked beyond him. On what proof? Who really knows? But that's just sometimes one of the most strange things when it comes to Indian cricket. You can't really pin head or tail on a lot of things. They do tend to sort of happen on the fly. Anyway, enough about cricket now, moving our attention to the world of football. And if you're an FC Barcelona fan, breathe a sigh of relief. You ended up making it to the next round of the Copa del Rey, which is of course Spain's domestic cup. And to do so, you had to beat a 4th division side, but Barca definitely did struggle a little bit in this one. Yes, they did play some good football later on, got a few goals, but that side did show quite a lot of spirit going up against the Barca side that they should have been no match for on paper, but showed some good desire, application, defensive solidity to keep Barca at bay. But once the floodgates opened, then it was a case of when it rains, it pours, and Barca are through to the next round. But they weren't the only club, or let's say European heavyweights, to be in action against a team much lower in the football rung than them, because PSG ended up registering a 9-0 win over a French side that consisted of amateur players who play in the 6th division and who play their football in front of a stadium, or in a stadium that can only house 2,000 people. You heard that right. 2,000 people is the capacity of that stadium. You'd have amateur cricket grounds that can host more in this country, but that is the state of this particular club. It's an amateur club. They're only part-time players, but they were playing in the French Cup, or against PSG, and there were talks that maybe PSG would rotate their side heavily. It's only a 6th division side, but their fans put out a video asking the likes of Kylian Mbappe to come to the stadium and play. And well, he actually did oblige. He scored a couple of goals as well, and PSG won the game 9-0. Not really much of a contest, but I'm sure the additional revenue that this club got in from hosting PSG, undisputedly France's top club, would have helped cushion the blow, because there was never going to be a chance that they were winning this particular game anyway. And speaking of clubs who are taking place, or heavyweight clubs in cup competitions, Liverpool have made it through to the next round of the FA Cup after besting Arsenal 2-0 at the Emirates Stadium. Now, on one hand, if you're a Liverpool fan, great. It's a very good result to get, especially when you consider that the club were without a Mohamed Salah, who of course has joined up with the Egypt team for the Africa Cup of Nations. And what's more, it was an away win, but it's a major concern for Arsenal, who have been in a little bit of a mini slump in recent times. They lost out to Fulham recently. They've had a couple of losses back to back, and now you can make this a third. And what makes things worse was that Arsenal, more often than not, were the dominant side. They created a lot of chances. They had about 13 shots in the first half itself. They just weren't able to take any of them. Concede one from an own goal, concede a second thereafter. Liverpool are through. Arsenal, the 2020 FA Cup winners, out of the tournament, which means that for now, if Arsenal season is to be considered something of a success, they'll need to have a good run in the Champions League, or at least make a run for the Premier League, because it seems very unlikely they're going to win either of them. They're still, let's say, a little bit behind on the development when it comes to being a great side. And right now, they're not even really in the race, if you ask me, for the Premier League, because I know people are going to say, oh, but Man City are only 4th. But Man City picked things up in the business end of the league. This really isn't the business end of the league yet. And Arsenal's slump could not have come at a worse time for them. Fixture pile-up is going to be taking place. There's going to be a break. You want at least a consistent run of results. They haven't been able to get that. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way of the football world. Last bit of news, and the Sports Ministry has directed the Sanjay Singh elected Wrestling Federation of India body to stop running sporting activities right now. You'd remember that the Sports Ministry had suspended the WFI, put an ad hoc committee in place, but Sanjay Singh said, no, I don't recognize this body. We are going to continue running things. They've now been directed by the Sports Ministry directly. Stop organizing tournaments, stop making plans. Right now, you have no role or authority to be pulling that off. The ad hoc committee are the only ones who can do it. Definitely a little bit of a civil war brewing there, which is unfortunate, because again, you thought elections taking place would stabilize the WFI. It seems to have done exactly the opposite, and one can only hope and pray that the wrestlers who will really get caught in the crossfires and all of this are okay, because again, don't forget, 2024, it's an Olympic year. You want your top competitors to be in the best shape. How they're going to get in the best shape when things are run this messily, well, it's really beyond me. But that's it from this edition of the Morning Wrap with Sports Today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoy our work, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to download the Sports app. And if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done yesterday and stay tuned. Got plenty more coming your way. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.